The chamber of the Galactic Council glittered with the light of 1,000 distant stars, refracted through crystalline panels that formed its domed ceiling. Representatives from dozens of species filled the semicircular amphitheater, their forms as varied as the ecosystems they hailed from. Beings of liquid metal shimmered beside scaled warriors, their claws tapping impatiently against the polished floor. Insectoid diplomats clicked their mandibles in annoyance, while gaseous life forms shifted restlessly in containment suits. All eyes, compound or otherwise, were fixed on the lone human standing at the center of the chamber. Captain Alyssa Carter adjusted her stance, refusing to let her unease show. She could feel the weight of their collective judgment bearing down on her. Earth's delegation had been summoned to the Galactic Council not as peers, but as a curiosity, an upstart species from the backwater planet that had barely scraped its way into interstellar relevance. Today, their disdain was on full display. From the raised dais at the center of the chamber, Counselor Vor'tal, a towering crystalline figure, spoke. His voice reverberated like shattering glass. Captain Carter, we have reviewed your claims regarding Earth's so-called apex predators. A ripple of amusement spread through the council at the term. And while your lions and wolves are endearing in their own primitive way, they hardly merit comparison to the apex life forms of our member worlds. Razor beasts from Scyldor, plasma serpents of Thanthea, the frost titans of Valeth Prime. These are true predators. Alyssa straightened her shoulders, her dark eyes flashing. Counselor Vor'tal, Earth's predators are more than capable of holding their own. Strength isn't the only measure of survival. Adaptability, intelligence, resilience, a voice interrupted, dripping with mockery. It belonged to Vor'tal, the Scyldien representative, a hulking, carnivorous alien with obsidian black scales and piercing yellow eyes. His species prided itself on its evolutionary dominance, their homeworld a death trap of predators and prey locked in eternal combat. Do not mistake tenacity for power, human. Your planet's beasts are fragile, soft. They lack the instincts and ferocity of creatures born in true crucibles of survival. Laughter rippled through the chamber, a cacophony of chirps, growls, and clicks. Alyssa's jaw tightened. She had expected ridicule, but hearing it in person was another matter. She forced herself to remain calm, gripping the small console in front of her. I'm not here to debate the Council's biases against Earth, Alyssa said, her voice firm. I'm here to prove them wrong. The laughter quieted slightly, though skeptical murmurs persisted. Counselor Vor'tal inclined his crystalline head, a faint glint of curiosity in his angular features. And how, exactly, do you intend to do that, Captain? Alyssa hesitated, choosing her words carefully. She could feel the eyes of her team, seated silently behind her, willing her to stay composed. Earth may lack the monstrous size of Scyldien predators or the exotic biology of Thanthean creatures, but our ecosystems produce something no other planet can replicate, a balance of traits that push life to its limits. You laugh at our wolves, our lions, our sharks, but you don't understand what it means to survive on Earth. You dismiss our creatures because they don't fit your definitions of power. Vor'tal leaned forward, his serrated teeth bared in what might have been a grin. Then present us with a champion. Human. Show us a predator from Earth that can rival the apex beasts of Scyldor or Thanthea. If you truly believe your world's creatures are so formidable. The room fell silent. Alyssa could feel the weight of the challenge hanging in the air. This was exactly what she had been waiting for, though the odds of success still made her stomach twist. She met Vor'tal's gaze unflinchingly. Very well. Humanity will accept your challenge. Gasps and murmurs erupted across the chamber. Counselor Vor'tal raised a translucent hand, silencing the room with a single motion. His crystalline form seemed to shimmer with amusement. You realize what you're agreeing to, Captain Carter? A direct combat demonstration between one of Earth's so-called predators and one of our member species' apex creatures. I do, Alyssa said firmly. Vor'tal let out a low, rumbling laugh. You're either brave or foolish. Perhaps both. Tell us, then, what mighty predator will you bring forth to face the Vor'tal? The name sent a ripple of recognition through the room. Alyssa had read about the Vor'tal in her research, a towering reptilian predator from Scyldor, bred for war and infamous for its lethal agility, regenerative scales, and venomous bite. It was a creature that had terrorized countless ecosystems even before the Syldians began exporting it as a biological weapon. She allowed herself a small, almost imperceptible smile. You'll find out soon enough. But I assure you, the predator we bring will represent Earth's spirit. Unrelenting, resourceful, and fearless. The chamber erupted again, this time with jeers and laughter. Alyssa ignored it, turning back toward her delegation. Her second-in-command, Dr. Ethan Reyes, leaned in as she approached. His voice was low but urgent. Are we really doing this? Against a Vor'tal? Alyssa gave him a sharp look. Do we have a choice? Ethan hesitated, then nodded grimly. You're thinking about... Yes, she interrupted. We've spent years watching the Council dismiss us, laugh at us. It's time to show them what they've been ignoring. And the honey badger is our best bet? Ethan's tone carried a mix of doubt and awe. It's not about size, strength, or appearance, Alyssa said. It's about what it represents. They won't see it coming. As the human delegation prepared to leave the chamber, Shorcall's voice boomed one final time. I hope your champion is prepared to face its end, Captain Carter. The Vor'tal is undefeated, and I would hate for Earth to embarrass itself more than it already has. Alyssa paused, turning back to face him with a faint, defiant smile. We'll see who ends up embarrassed. The chamber's crystalline walls hummed faintly as the council members began to disperse, their conversations buzzing with anticipation. Alyssa could feel their doubts, their amusement, but she didn't care. She walked out of the chamber with her head held high, knowing that in a few short days, Earth would either earn their respect or give them a reason to fear humanity's resilience. The combat arena of the Galactic Council was a testament to interstellar engineering. Spanning several kilometers in diameter, its biodome ceiling simulated a range of environments. Rocky outcrops jutted from the ground, mist curled over a synthetic marshland, and a scattering of metallic trees dotted the artificial landscape. The air hummed with anticipation as spectators from across the galaxy gathered for the event. Every seat in the tiered amphitheater was filled, and an electric charge of excitement coursed through the crowd. At the arena's northern gate, Captain Alyssa Carter stood with her team behind a reinforced observation barrier. The Council's disdain still echoed in her mind, but it had hardened her resolve. This wasn't just a demonstration. It was humanity's stand. Every diplomat and delegate in the crowd waited to see Earth fail. They expected the spectacle of a feeble creature falling to an apex predator, and Alyssa had no intention of giving them that satisfaction. A deep, bone-shaking roar echoed from the far end of the arena. The crowd erupted as the Syldian gate lifted and the Vor'tal emerged. The creature was every bit the nightmare Alyssa had anticipated. Over 12 feet tall, it was a monstrous fusion of reptilian and insectoid features. Its obsidian scales shimmered with an iridescent gleam, each one as sharp as a blade. A long, whip-like tail lashed behind it, and venom dripped from its serrated fangs. For golden eyes locked onto the arena's center with predatory intent. Shorcall, the Syldian representative, rose from his seat high above the arena, his voice amplified by the council's acoustics. Behold the apex of Scyldor. The Vor'tal has conquered beasts 10 times its size and has never known defeat. It will ensure Earth's folly is remembered for generations. The crowd erupted once again, a cacophony of cheers and feral howls. Alyssa didn't flinch. She exchanged a glance with Dr. Ethan Reyes. Release it. The southern gate began to lift. There was no roar or grand entrance. Instead, a small, stocky creature padded into the arena with the nonchalance of something that didn't know, or didn't care, that it was being watched. The honey badger looked almost comical in comparison to its surroundings. Its black fur, topped with a grayish-white stripe running down its back, gave it the appearance of an oversized weasel. It was dwarfed by the arena, a mere speck against the Vor'tal's looming shadow. The crowd burst into laughter. Some of the council members leaned forward in their seats, shaking their heads in disbelief. Shorcall's guttural chuckle boomed above the noise. This is Earth's great champion? A rodent? The Vor'tal did not share the crowd's amusement. It lowered its massive head, its nostrils flaring as it picked up the honey badger's scent. There was no hesitation. With a single, explosive leap, it charged across the arena, claws gouging the earth beneath it. Its fangs gleamed in the simulated sunlight as it lunged toward its tiny opponent. The honey badger didn't move until the last possible moment. Then, with a speed that defied its squat frame, it darted to the side. The Vor'tal's jaws snapped shut on empty air, its momentum carrying it forward into the ground. Dirt and dust exploded in all directions. The honey badger didn't pause to celebrate its evasion. It pivoted and charged directly at the Vor'tal, launching itself onto the larger creature's flank. Its claws tore into the beast's scales, ripping furrows in the supposedly impenetrable armor. The Vor'tal roared in surprise, twisting its massive body in an attempt to dislodge the smaller predator. But the honey badger clung on, its teeth sinking into the vulnerable flesh beneath the scales. Impossible, Shorcall hissed. The Vor'tal's tail lashed out, striking the honey badger with bone-crushing force. The impact sent the creature flying across the arena, its small body tumbling end over end. Alyssa's heart seized, but before she could even draw breath, the honey badger was already back on its feet. Blood dripped from its mouth, and its fur was matted with dust and dirt, but its eyes burned with a wild, unyielding fury. The Vor'tal charged again, this time slower and more cautious. Its golden eyes tracked every twitch of its opponent's muscles. It lunged, and the honey badger darted forward instead of away. It slipped beneath the Vor'tal's belly, claws tearing into its soft underbelly. The beast let out a shriek of pain, staggering back. The crowd had fallen silent. The honey badger leapt onto the Vor'tal's back once more, this time targeting the base of its neck. Its teeth sank deep, and the Vor'tal convulsed, thrashing wildly in an attempt to shake it loose. "This cannot be," Shorcall muttered. His eyes narrowed, his confidence crumbling into disbelief. Venom dripped from the Vor'tal's jaws as it twisted, managing to grab the honey badger with its front claws. It bit down on the smaller creature's side, its fangs sinking deep. Gasps filled the arena as the honey badger's body went limp. The Vor'tal lifted its head, triumphant, and then the honey badger moved. With an explosion of energy, it wrenched free from the Vor'tal's jaws, its loose skin allowing it to twist in a way that should have been impossible. It latched onto the Vor'tal's snout, claws raking its face and tearing through one of its golden eyes. The Vor'tal bellowed, blinded and staggering, and the honey badger leapt free. Panting, the Vor'tal collapsed to its knees. Blood streamed from its wounds, pooling beneath it. The honey badger circled slowly, watching, waiting. The Vor'tal attempted to rise one last time, but its strength gave out. It collapsed with a heavy thud, defeated. For a long moment, there was only silence. Then, from the observation barrier, Alyssa allowed herself a small smile. Fearless, relentless, and impossible to kill. That's Earth's spirit. The honey badger stood victorious, bloodied but unbowed, and the galaxy's perception of Earth would never be the same. The silence in the arena was absolute. Dust hung in the air like a frozen moment in time, suspended by disbelief. Every alien eye remained fixed on the honey badger, which stood over the fallen Vor'tal. Its sides heaved with exertion, fur streaked with blood and dust, but its posture was unmistakable, defiant and triumphant. Captain Alyssa Carter watched the scene from behind the observation barrier, her heart pounding in her chest. The tension that had coiled in her muscles throughout the battle finally began to unwind. Humanity had not only survived, but had proven something undeniable. Earth's resilience was far more powerful than the galaxy had imagined. She turned toward the gathered council, waiting to see their response. Shorcall, the Scyldien representative, had not moved. The proud warrior's expression, so smug and confident at the start of the match, now twisted into something unrecognizable, a mixture of shock, confusion, and unwilling awe. His golden eyes remained locked on the Vor'tal's still form, as if he couldn't comprehend what had just transpired. The arena had never seen the creature fall before. "The Vor'tal is defeated," Vor'tal said, his voice hollow. A low murmur began to ripple through the crowd, soft at first, but quickly building to a steady roar. Whispers of astonishment gave way to exclamations of surprise, then thunderous applause and cheers. Even species that had initially ridiculed Earth's champion now nodded or clapped with something resembling respect. Counselor Vor'tal stood slowly, his crystalline form catching the artificial light. He raised one translucent hand, and the arena quieted once again. His sharp, angular features were unreadable, but Alyssa saw something flicker behind his reflective gaze. Curiosity tempered by reluctant admiration. "Earth's champion has prevailed," he announced, his voice resonating through the amphitheater. "Against all expectations, the honey badger has defeated the Vor'tal. This victory cannot be disputed." The words hung in the air, heavy with significance. Alyssa felt a swell of pride, not just for the honey badger, but for what it represented. Humanity had faced down centuries of dismissal and condescension from the Council. Today, they had earned their place among the stars through tenacity and unrelenting spirit. Vor'tal's claws scraped against the edge of his seat as he stood. His towering form cast a long shadow across the arena floor. For a moment, it seemed he might offer another challenge, a refusal to accept defeat. But something in his gaze shifted as he looked from the Vor'tal to the honey badger, still standing its ground. "You said this creature embodied the spirit of your world," Vor'tal said, addressing Alyssa directly. His tone was guarded, but lacked its former derision. "Now I understand. It is not the largest. It is not the strongest. But it does not yield." Alyssa met his gaze unflinching. "It fights because survival is in its nature. It doesn't give up. Neither do we." The Scyldor warrior held her stare for a long, tense moment. Then, with a sharp nod, he stepped back. A murmur spread through the other council members, and one by one, representatives from various species began to rise from their seats. Some looked begrudging, others impressed, but the message was clear. Earth had earned its respect. Dr. Ethan Reyes leaned in toward Alyssa. "That went better than I expected." Alyssa allowed herself a small smile. "They're starting to see us differently. This changes everything." Counselor Vor'tal descended from his dais, his crystalline frame moving with slow, deliberate grace. He stopped a few feet from Alyssa, his many-faceted eyes glinting. "Captain Carter, today your species has demonstrated more than mere survival. You have shown adaptability, resourcefulness, and the capacity to thrive under impossible odds. These are qualities the Council does not take lightly." Alyssa inclined her head. "Thank you, Counselor. I hope this is the beginning of a more balanced relationship between Earth and the Council." The crystalline being's expression remained unreadable. "Balance comes with time, but recognition is earned in moments like this." He gestured to the honey badger, which had finally settled at the edge of the arena, licking its wounds with no sign of fear or exhaustion. "Your champion will be remembered not as a curiosity, but as a symbol of Earth's indomitable spirit." Alyssa felt a weight lift from her chest. For years, Earth had been dismissed as an afterthought, a planet of fragile creatures that had only stumbled into interstellar politics. Today, that perception had shifted. "I imagine there will be many requests to study Earth's fauna in the days to come," Vor'tal added, his tone almost amused. "Perhaps even alliances, if you are willing." Alyssa nodded. "We'll be ready." The arena began to clear, spectators filing out with a mix of chatter and speculation. Vor'tal cast one final glance at the honey badger before departing, and for the first time since the match began, there was no mockery in his eyes. As the last of the crowd dispersed, Alyssa turned back toward the arena floor. The honey badger stood once more, staring out at the empty seats as if daring another challenge. Its resilience had never been in question. Now, neither was Earth's. Dr. Reyes joined her at the barrier. "So, what now? Victory tour? Interviews with curious alien biologists?" Alyssa chuckled softly. "Maybe later." For now, we go home. But when we come back, it won't be as underdogs. They stepped away from the observation platform, leaving the arena behind. In the center of the battlefield, the honey badger stood alone beneath the simulated sky, a small but undeniable reminder that true strength was never just about size or power. It was about refusing to yield, no matter the odds. And humanity, at long last, had been seen,